Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Spaghetti Westerns podcast. I'm Tom Betts, your host. This is season 8, episode 4, number 134. Today we're going to talk about our history of the spaghetti western. Actually, this is a Euro western called Wanito. Most of you probably never heard of it, but there's quite a few spaghetti western actors in it. Whatever became of, we're going to talk about Anthony Dawson, the actor, British actor, not the director. Who are those guys? Is Florencio Amaria. You've seen him, but probably know nothing about who he is. He was a soccer player also. Film of the week is The Great Django. I got an autograph of the week, book of the week. I got a poster and a lobby ad mat. And the LPCDs of the week will be Django. We're not going to cover all of them, but we'll cover some of the bigger ones because Django is on every compilation album and multiple CD releases. And then we'll wrap things up with the news. Okay, let's get going and we'll talk about the history of the spaghetti westerns and Wanito. Okay, Wanito, like I said, we'll classify this as a Euro Western. For years I've heard the title, but never really researched it. I didn't think it was even in the category of spaghetti Westerns or Euro Westerns. Finally, I saw it on YouTube maybe a year ago or so, and it be classified as a Euro Western. The Mexican Revolution is the background in it, and there's several Euro Western actors and actresses that were prolific in the genre, so I've put it in the database as a spaghetti Western. Anyways, the Spanish title is Wanito. The German title is Drei Kerle Ge Durch Dick und Dun. Also, Unsere Imat ist die ganz Welt. And Drei Freunde Ge Durch Dick und Dun. And Die Segreken Drei. Argentinian title is Wanito. English title besides Wanito is also known as Viva Wanito. It's a 1959 Spanish, West German, Argentinian co-production. The director is Fernando Palacios. Screenplay and story is by Hans Bertram and Wolf Neumeister. Cinematography is by Ricardo Torres. It's in Agfacolor and Fujicolor. I love the names they come up with these. Music is by Augusto Elguero. And there's a song in here sung by, supposedly, Pablito Calvo, who plays Wanito, but his voice was covered in singing by Matilda Fernandez Villarino. The film runs 97 minutes. The main actors are Juanito Meza, played by Pablito Calvo. Tom is played by Hans von Borsody. Patty is played by George Thamalia. Carmencita Cuesta is played by Sabine Bethman. And Luisa is played by Pilar Cancino. Some of the other well-known names in here is Pedrillo is played by Angel Ortiz. General Vargas is played by Marco Davo. Presidente Mesa is played by Antonio Casas. The Colonel Cuesta is played by Alfredo Mayo. Dr. Agapito is played by Felix Fernandez. And then we have one of the generals is played by Tomas Blanco. Margarita is played by Josefina Ceratosa, and one of the officers is played by Jose Sepulveda. The story goes, during the Mexican Revolution, the presidential palace of President Mesa, played by Antonio Casas, is attacked. Thanks to a quick-thinking maid, the president's son, Juanito, played by Pablito Calvo, manages to escape. After being wounded during the attack and later dying from an explosion, she begs the help of a German hunter named Tom, played by Hans von Borsody, who's unaware of who the boy is but agrees to take him into his care. After escaping the city by train, they head to his mountain cabin where they meet with Tom's partner, Patty, played by George Thamala. In the meantime, the head of the army, George Vargas, is desperate to find Wanito and offers a substantial reward for any information leading to his capture. When Tom and Patty discover Juanito's identity, they decide to do everything they can to protect him, but are betrayed by Dr. Ramiro, played by Jose Maria Prada, who they bring to the cabin to treat Juanito when he falls ill. Juanito is captured and Patty and Tom are locked up as kidnappers. During Juanito's stay at the cabin, two women, Carmencita, played by Sabine Bethman, and Luisa, played by Pilar Cancino, are rescued by Tom after their boat develops motor problems. The women go to President Mesa and explain the situation, and Tom and Patty are released and thanked by El Presidente. Surrounded by his new friends, Juanito makes a quick recovery from his illness, and his father allows him to return to Tom's cabin for a visit. Okay, the Spaghetti Western database classifies Juanito as a spaghetti western along with me, but it is more a musical drama than a spaghetti western. However, there are some scenes when the revolution takes place that will look like the typical scenes of the Zapata spaghetti westerns. All the characters are likable and turn in excellent performances. The main role, Wanito, is played by Pablito Calvo, who as a child actor followed in the footsteps of Joselito during the 1950s and early 1960s. He's not bad and does not go overboard as the typical cutesy child actors during this time period. Several actors appear in small roles who will be recognizable as they become regulars in the genre later this decade, such as Jose Marco Davo, Antonio Casas, Alfredo Mayo, to name a few. Pablito speaks his own lines, but his singing is dubbed by Matilda Fernandez Villareno, which she did in all his films. The film was shot at Estudios Ballesteros in Madrid, and the outdoor scenes were filmed in Madrid's Sierra Navacerrada. The motion picture was directed by Fernando Palacios, who was an assistant director on two previous Pablito Calvo films. Watching this film takes you back to remembering what films were like in the 1950s, when films were almost fairy tales filled with likable characters, songs, great scenery, and always a happy ending. A bit of trivia, George Thamala and Jose Maria Prada were voice dubbers of American actor Tony Curtis. One was the German voice, the other the Spanish. This film is available on German DVD, released in 2021 in German only, and a Spanish DVD in Spanish only. As far as actor profiles go, Juanito Mesa, played by Pablito Calvo Hidalgo, was born in Madrid on March 16, 1948. As a child actor, he won a Cannes Film Festival award in 1955 for his performance in Marcelino, Pan y Vino, which translates into A Miracle of Marcelino. He became one of Spain's most famous child actors. He appeared in only 5 more films, including one in Italy with Toto. Pablito retired from acting at the age of 16 to become an industrial engineer. Later, he worked in tourism. Calvo sang in a few films, but as previously mentioned, his singing voice was always dubbed on screen in Spain by a woman named Matilda F. Villareno. He died on February 1st, 2000 from a brain aneurysm at the age of 51. This is his only Western film. Then we have Tom, who's played by Hans von Borsody. Hans Edward Herbert von Borsody was born in Vienna, Austria on September 20th, 1929. He was a theater, film, TV voice actor, singer, and the son of filmmaker Eduard von Borsody, who was born in 1898 and who died in 1970, and concert pianist Maria Horschreiter. He was married 4 times, 3 of which were actresses. He is the father of director-actress Suzanne von Borsody, born in 1957, and actress Cosima von Borsody, born in 1966. Hans died on November 4, 2013 in Kiel, Germany at the age of 84. He appeared in one other spaghetti western as Captain George Hunter in Buffalo Bill, Hero of the Far West in 1964, which we've previously covered. Hans was previously covered in episode number 107 if you want to look for some more information on him. Patty was played by George Thamalia. George Valentin Thamalia was born on February 14, 1915 in Katowice, Upper Silesia, Germany. He was a director, film, TV, voice actor, and singer. He was married to Margaret Merrill, who was born in 1934 and is still living. They were married from 57 to 99, and he was the father of two sons, one of which is actor Thomas Hartner, born in 1940. George appeared in around 150 films and TV appearances from 1939 to 2000. As mentioned, he was the German voice of Jack Lemmon for 30 years. He died in Starnberg, Bavaria, Germany on August 25, 1999 at the age of 84. This is his only Western film. Then we have Carmencita Cuesta, played by Sabine Bethman. Sabine Bethman was born in Tilsit, East Prussia on October 25, 1931. She was a model, film, and TV actress. Sabine first appeared in the 1956 movie Waldwinter and became popular by appearances in Fritz Lang movies. She was originally cast for the role of Verinia in Spartacus, but that only lasted 2 days when she was replaced by Gene Simmons. Bethman abandoned her career in acting in '68 and appeared only in a few TV productions afterwards. Sabine died at the age of 92 on November 8, 2021. She appeared in one other spaghetti western as Georgina White in The Man from Oklahoma in 1964. We previously covered her in episode number 118. Then we have Luisa, played by Pilar Cancino. Pilar Cancino Romero was born in Seville, Andalusia, Spain on January 18, 1937. She's still living. She is a dancer, film actress, and cousin of actress Rita Hayworth, whose real name was Margarita Carmen Cancino. She was born in 1918 and died in 1987. Pilar was married to assistant director Antonio Foss, who was born in 1930 and he died in 1990. She appeared in 30 films from 1957 to 1991. She appeared in one other spaghetti western, Tierra Brava, as Maria Rojas in 1968, which starred Wade Preston. Then we have Dr. Ramiro, played by Jose Maria Prada. Jose Maria Prada Otorino was born in Ocana, Toledo, Spain on March 31, 1925. He was a film, TV, and voice actor. He began his acting career at the Spanish University Theater while he was studying medicine. He dropped out of the medical school to become a theatrical actor. He was a regular face on Spanish TV during the 60s and 70s. A sought-after dubber, he was the Spanish voice of Tony Curtis and Dennis Hopper. He appeared in some 98 films and TV appearances from 1954 to 1979. Prada died in Bilbao, Spain on August 13, 1978, at the age of 53. He appeared in 4 other spaghetti westerns as a bartender in 1954's The Judgment of the Coyote, a townsman in 62's Welcome Padre Murray, a major in 67's Via Rides with Yul Brynner and Robert Mitchum, and as Luis in 1971's Pancho Villa, starring Telly Savalas. Last but not least, we have General Vargas, played by Marco Davo. Jose Marco Davo was born in Orihuela, Alicante, Spain on May 10, 1895. He was a theater, film, and TV actor who appeared in 66 films and TV appearances from 35 to 71. He started his career on stage in 1922. Among those films were 7 spaghetti westerns, which I'll list on YouTube and Facebook. He usually played military officers and high-ranking politicians. Davo died in his hometown on September 27, 1974. He was 79. There's also a Spanish actor named Jose Marco, and their credits are often confused. The 2 actors look nothing alike, so it's confusion of names only. You remember Marco as Red Baby Kavanaugh in For a Few Dollars More. Okay, now we'll move on to whatever became of Anthony Dawson. This is Anthony Dawson, a British actor, not Anthony Dawson, Antonio Margheriti, the Italian director. Excuse me. Anthony Douglas Gillen Dawson was born in Edinburgh, Scotland on October 18, 1916. He trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts and during World War II made his film debut in 1943's They Met in the Dark. This launched his acting career and he went on to appear in such classic British films as The Way to the Stars in 45, The Queen of Spades in 48, The Wooden Horse in 1950, before moving to America in the 1950s. It was while here that he appeared on Broadway in the play and then the subsequent Alfred Hitchcock film Dial M for Murder in 1954, playing C.A. Swan / Captain Lesgate. In the film, he is blackmailed by Tony Wendis, played by Ray Milland, into murdering his wife Margot, played by Grace Kelly. In his unpublished memoirs, Rambling Collections, Dawson reminisced about getting the part. I had never met Hitchcock before, and yet he was about to do me the most fantastic good turn I could imagine. In that wonderful, fat man's Cockney voice, he said, and I won't try and impersonate Alfred Hitchcock. Tony, I just called to let you know that I want you for this picture, and so you're quite safe to make yourself a nice deal. What could I say? I mumbled many thanks and put the phone down, feeling rather dazed, electrified, stunned, all of these. The full impact of this call from Hitch was very soon to come home to me. Dawson had two other memorable roles in it on his return to Britain, including the Vale Marcus Sinestro in Hammer's The Curse of the Werewolf in 1961 and henchman Professor Dent in the first James Bond film Dr. No in 1962, directed by Tony Young, who used Dawson in several of his films over the years, including They Were Not Divided in 1950, Valley of Eagles in 1951, The Amorous Adventures of Moll Flanders in 1965, Triple Cross in 1966, Inchon in 1982, and The Jigsaw Man in 1983. Young also cast him as the physical presence of Ernest Stavro Blofeld in his Bond films From Russia with Love in 1963 and Thunderball in 1965, Stroking the White Cat. His face was never seen, however, and Blofeld's voice was provided by Eric Pullman. Dawson appeared alongside fellow Bond veterans Adolfo Celli, Lois Maxwell, and Bernard Lee in the Italian Bond knockoff OK Connery. After the early 60s, his role got progressively smaller, but he continued to act until his death. Anthony Dawson died in East Sussex, England, of cancer at the age of 75 on January 8, 1992. Anthony Dawson appeared in 4 spaghetti westerns, and they are And for a Roof, A Sky Full of Stars in 1968 as Samuel Pratt, Death Rides a Horse in 1968 as Bert Four Aces Kavanaugh, or also called Manina, Deadlock in 1970 playing Anthony Killer Sunshine, and Red Sun in 1971, Hyatt was the character directed by, again, Terrence Young. Okay, now we'll move on to Who Are Those Guys and Florencio Amaria. Okay, Florencio Amaria, interesting character. He was born Florencio Amaria Lacasa on January 3, 1935 in Coronel, Bogotá, Paraguay. Amaria became a striker for the Paraguayan national soccer team, which played against Sweden in the 1958 World Cup. He scored 2 goals in that game, which brought him to the attention of Real Oviedo team of Spain, where he signed a contract and played for them from 58 to 61. He then played for Elche CF from 61 to 62, before finishing his career with Almeria CD from 67 to 68. Here he lived and retired from soccer. Living in Almeria brought him to the attention of film producers, and he became a semi-regular during the spaghetti western era, usually playing Mexicans and Indians. A footballer turned into a secondary actor who worked with such important figures as Yul Brynner, Alain Delon, Charles Bronson, and Ursula Andress. He appeared as Aguila in El Condor in 1970, as Little Bear along with his son Luis in Chato's Land, and in all appeared in 9 spaghetti westerns. Amaria, in an interview, described how he got into films. I was at the Grand Hotel having a beer. I was approached by a 6 foot 5 inch man, Antonio Taruella, an assistant director, and when he saw my Indian face, he asked me if I wanted to participate in a movie. That film, 100 Rifles, made in 1969, starring Raquel Welch, Jim Brown, and Burt Reynolds, was his first filming as a supporting actor. His role usually was always the same, that of an Indian chief, favored by the features of his face, his physical power, and his skill in riding a horse. During the height of the spaghetti westerns, the contracts followed one after another, with Florencio taking parts in films like El Condor in 1970 with Lee Van Cleef and Jim Brown, Catlow 71 with Yul Brynner, Chato's Land with Charles Bronson, and Red Sun with Charles Bronson and Alain Delon. Amarillo ended up participating in nearly a dozen of Hollywood's Spanish co-produced westerns and some legendary films such as Patton, a film which he became the first Paraguayan to participate in an Oscar-winning film because it won Best Film in 1970. Despite his foray into films, Florencio never abandoned soccer, and like many other colleagues, he worked as a coach, training modest teams in the province of Almeria. He left coaching after a serious illness and suffered a stroke, but after several months of rehabilitation, he recovered, but still had to use a cane to assist in walking. In 2006, at the age of 71, he worked for Carmaca del Nahar Club, living on the premises of the stadium. On December 27, 2009, Florencio was honored at the Juan Rojas Stadium in Almeria by the Almeria Football Federation for his years of dedication to the sport of soccer, both as a player and a coach. Florencio, the soccer player actor, died on August 25, 2012, at the age of 77 in Vélez Rubia, Almeria, Spain. I'll post a list of his films on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, let's move on to the film of the week, and it's Django. Okay, Django, international title, but it was also known as El Mercenario in Spain, maybe on DVD or video, and Django, Jango, in the United States. Besides the regular spelling of Django, as you see here. It's a 1965 Italian-Spanish co-production. Producer is Manolo Bolognini, Sergio Corbucci, and Jose Gutierrez Maeso. There's some disinformation or question about who actually owns the name Django. Manolo Bolognini is the one who claims it, but Sergio Corbucci's wife says they own it under the family name, so we'll never really know. Like I said, the story and screenplay is by Sergio and Bruno Corbucci and Franco Rossetti, along with Piero Vivarilla. The English dialogue is by Godfrey Capelston. Cinematography is by Enzo Barboni. It's in Eastman Color and Panavision. Music is by Luis Enriquez Bacalov, and the song Django is sung both in English by Rocky Roberts and Italian by Roberto Fia, which we'll get into when we cover the LPCD. Running time is 97 minutes. The main cast is Django, played by Franco Nero, Maria, played by Laura Donna Nusiak, General Hugo Rodriguez, played by Jose Bodalo, Nathaniel, played by Angel Alvarez, and Major Jackson, played by Eduardo Fajardo. Other well-known names in the cast are Rafael Albaicin, who plays Rodriguez's gang member, and Jose Canalejas. They both play Rodriguez gang members. Brother Jonathan is played by Gino Pernice under the alias Jimmy Douglas. Luciano Rossi is one of the clan members. Then there's Ringo, played by Jose Torron. The whipping bandit seen in the beginning is played by Lucio de Santos, and one of the Mexican officers you'll recognize as Chris Huerta. The story goes a drifter dressed as a Union Army officer named Django, played by Franco Nero, wanders through the wasteland dragging a coffin. He comes upon a woman named Maria, played by Loredana Nusiak, being whipped by a group of Mexican bandits. She is rescued by Django, who shoots and kills her tormentors. Django and Maria then travel on together and arrive in a semi-ghost town, where only the saloon and the brothel owned by Nathaniel are still open. Nathaniel's played by Angel Alvarez. Major Jackson, played by Eduardo Fajardo, who charges protection fees from the remaining citizens, and 5 of his henchmen meet Django in the saloon, and the major throws out a veiled threat, only to have all of his men shot dead by an obviously skilled gunman. Embarrassed, the major rounds up his gang of KKK-type henchmen to face Django in the muddy main street. Django, although greatly outnumbered, sits behind a dead tree waiting as they approach. He calmly opens his coffin, and we see for the first time that it contains a machine gun. Setting it on the log, he goes about mowing down the men and kills most of them, but not Jackson, who, after falling face down in the mud, runs away. Then a mercenary and acquaintance of Django, General Hugo Rodriguez, played by Jose Bodalo, arrives in town, and Django proposes a bold plan to steal Jackson's gold and split it between them. When Django is betrayed, he steals the gold from Hugo with the help of Maria. They are chased by Hugo and his men. While Jackson catches up, he shoots Maria and crushes Django's hands. General Hugo, in turn, is massacred by Jackson, and the Mexican army. The remaining bandits return to Mexico. After killing Rodriguez, Jackson finds Django in the cemetery, who hides behind his wife's grave. Once again outnumbered and with crushed hands, Django faces the overconfident Jackson and turns the tables on him and his 5 remaining henchmen, and are all killed by the resourceful gunman. We've always considered Fistful of Dollars rightfully gets recognition as the groundsbreaking film that started the spaghetti western era and craze. I think over the years, Django has probably surpassed it as far as being held in higher esteem. Most of us Americans, like Fistful, never saw Django when it first came out. It was almost a legend, as it appeared in only a few places around the country, and even then was billed as, like I said, Django, Jango. I remember my friend Richard Landwehr telling Jim Ferranti and myself the story that living in New Orleans, he saw that Django was playing across the Mississippi at a drive-in in Texas. He drove over to see it as it was being billed as a second film in a drive-in double bill. It started to rain heavily, and after the first film was over, they announced they were closing down for the night and were not going to show the second film. Pissed off, he told us that he marched through the rain and mud, much like Franco Nero in the film, to the snack bar and demanded the projection to show the film, since he drove all the way from Louisiana and had paid to see it. They begrudgingly showed the film, and as he was the only one left watching with the windshield wipers wiping the water away from the windshield, sat watching in awe to the film he had only heard about and read about for years. For the rest of us, we had to wait decades to see it on videotape. It was banned in the UK until 1993. By then, the opening machine gun showdown was probably not as big a thrill as someone in 1965 sitting in the theater was blown away by seeing such a revolutionary sight. Show it to some young viewer today and they probably will say to you, "What's the big deal?" But in 1965, this was as earth-shattering as The Wild Bunch was a handful of years later. Django, like Fistful, is based on Kurosawa's Yojimbo, with 2 warring factions and a man caught in the middle. Django is the darker and much more violent of the two films. Some of the stories that came out of the making of the film were that the recently deceased Mark Damon helped create the idea and story with Sergio Corbucci and was offered the role of Django as he was working with Corbucci on Ringo and his Golden Pistol. Franco Nero was offered the role and initially turned it down because he wanted to make a name for himself in Hollywood productions, which he eventually did in Camelot in 1967. There's also the story of Nero telling the makeup men to add wrinkles to his face so that as he grew older, he would always look the same for a long period of time. Then there's the story of the film was made in Italy in the winter, which if you watch, you can see the actor's breath, and the muddy street was a tribute to Shane. Corbucci wanted to put snow on the street and on the buildings, but after arguing for several days, settled for mud in the streets, which added to the atmosphere. They couldn't get enough decent looking actors, so it goes, to portray the Jackson gang, so they hired as many extras and street people as they could and covered their faces with red hoods. Several of them are filmed in multiple shots to make the gang size more impressive. The red hoods were later idolized as red sashes as the Cowboys in 1993's Tombstone. There's also the joke Corbucci played on Nero, asking him to drag the coffin through the mud until he yelled cut. By the time Nero started questioning why he kept walking and hearing nothing, he stopped and returned to the crew, only to find everything disassembled, packed, and gone. The character's name is a play on the jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt, who had a crippled hand. Yes, almost every film Franco Nero appeared in that was released in Germany was renamed Django, no matter what the genre. There's also several great scenes in this film. Remember Brother Jonathan, played by Gino Pernice, credited as Jimmy Douglas, who plays a priest spy working for the gang, is forced to eat his own ear because he has heard too much. Django loses the gold in the quicksand and almost his life when he refuses to abandon it and go on with Maria. Django dragging his coffin over the rooftops while Maria disrobes, distracting the Mexicans. I won't even get into who wrote what and who chose Nero for the role, as there's still much confusion and contradiction by who's involved and the logical conclusion. Okay? Actor profiles, and several of these we've already talked about. Django is played by Franco Nero. Francesco Clemente Giuseppe Sparanero was born on November 23rd, 1941 in San Prospero, Parmense, Emilia-Romagna, Italy. He's a producer, director, writer, cameraman, film, TV actor, and singer. He married lifetime companion actress Vanessa Redgrave, who was born in 1937. She's still living. They were married in 2006. They have a son, producer, director Carlo Gabriel Nero, born in 1969. By many spaghetti western fans, Franco is considered the king of the genre. He's appeared in 16 Euro westerns, as well as several that were never made, and multiple documentaries on the genre. We covered him in his own special episode in number 31. Maria was played by Loredana Nusiak. Loredana Capelletti was born in Trieste, Italy. On November 2nd, 1940, she was Miss Trieste in 1959 and was a film and photo romanzi actress. She was married to actor Gianni Medici. He was born in 1936 and died in 1990. They were married from 65 till his death in 90. She died of cancer on July 12, 2006 at the age of 65. Loredana appeared in 6 spaghetti westerns. We covered her previously in episode number 86. Then we have Jose Bodalo. He played General Huego Rodriguez. Jose Bodalo Zuffoli was born on March 24, 1916 in Cordoba, Argentina. He was a theater, film, radio, and TV actor, the son of actress Eugenia Zuffoli, who was born in 1900. She died in 82. And actor-singer Jose Pepe Bodalo Montorio. He was born in 87, died in 62. Uh, Jose was married to Alicia Fernandez Tomas and the father of two children. Bodalo specialized in playing military men and villains. He appeared in 10 spaghetti westerns. We covered him previously in episode number 113. Nathaniel was played by Angel Alvarez. Angel Alvarez Fernandez was born in Madrid, Spain on September 26, 1906. Besides being a theater, film, and TV actor, he also worked as a production manager, assistant director, writer, and songwriter. He died in Madrid on December 13, 1983, at the age of 77. Angel appeared in 19 spaghetti westerns, usually as bartenders or sympathetic townsmen and officials. We covered him previously in episode number 33. Major Jackson, Eduardo Fajardo. Eduardo Martinez Fajardo was born in Mayas, Pontevedra, Galicia, Spain on August 14, 1924. If we don't mention Fernando Sancho almost every week, we mention Eduardo Fajardo. He was a theater, film, TV, and voice actor. He appeared in 30-plus spaghetti westerns. Fajardo also appeared in Mexican films, was married several times, and had many children. He died in Mexico City on July 4th, 2019, at the age of 95. We covered him previously in episode number 33. Okay, let's move on to the LP CD of the week. Okay, like I said, Django, being the film it is, the soundtrack or scores, main themes scores appear on multiple uh, combination soundtracks. So you'll find it everywhere. Anyways, I want to cover some of the major ones. First of all, the first LP didn't come out until 1985. The composer of the score is Luis Bacalov, and the LP came out in Italy under two labels, General Music and Intermezzo. They both used the same number, IMGM002. It contained only 18 tracks of music, but that was normal for LPs at that time. Listing time was 40 minutes and 16 seconds. Its value today is $25. Then in 1994, Germany released this CD. It came out on Alhambra, number A8930. Same thing, it had 18 tracks of music, 40 minutes and 16 seconds of music, and its value is $14, so no improvement. In 1995, the Japanese released a CD on King Records /7 Seas. It's on KICP 2591. It had 19 tracks of music, listing time of 41 minutes and 38 seconds. Its value is $30. Then we had to wait till 1996 for Italy to release on Screen Tracks another CD, this one. It was on Screen Tracks number CDST322 at 24 tracks and a listening time of 55 minutes and 17 seconds. Its value is $15. Then in 2007, the Japanese released another CD on Veritas Note, VQCD10039. It had 37 tracks of music with a listing time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 32 seconds. Its value is unknown. But now to be undone, the Italians released the premier CD of Django on GDM number 4303. It contains 37 tracks of music, but it has 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 34 seconds. So an additional minute of music. What it is, I have no idea. It's valued at $20. Okay, the singers of Django. First of all, the English version is sung by Rocky Roberts. Rocky Roberts was born in Miami, Florida on August 23, 1941. He spent some time in the U.S. Army, was a welterweight championship boxer, and got his musical start singing with a group called the Airedales. recording in the US and in France. In the second half of the 1960s, he moved to Italy, where he recorded most of his songs as a solo artist and was a guest on every popular TV music show in Italy. His American accent didn't stop him from having a great hit with Stasera mi butto, and he was well known for his energetic Italian language cover versions of Motown and Atlantic soul hits, live and on record. He died on January 13th, 2005 in Rome from lung cancer. He was 63. Rocky also sang the main theme song from Can Be Done on 1972's It Can Be Done Amigo with Bud Spencer and Jack Palance. And then we have the mysterious Roberto Fia. Cannot find a birth date on this guy. He's an Italian singer, record producer, songwriter, and A&R scout. It was Ennio Morricone, on the recommendation of Fia's singing teacher, who proposed to him at a young age to sign a contract with La Parade, a record company founded by Mikochi, Morricone, and Bacalov. It was with Louis Bacalov that he recorded the main theme Django in 1966, the now cult song of the film by Sergio Corbucci, which in 2012 earned Roberto Fia an unexpected mention in the soundtrack of Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino. Later in his career, he became a production manager at RCA Records in Rome. In recent years, Fia has mainly written theatrical soundtracks. He also recorded under the alias Roberto Mercante. As far as I know, he's still living and still recording. Okay, let's move on to Autograph of the Week. Okay, this special autograph for Simone Blondell. I know she watches each episode. This is from the Fadani group of actors. It's Celso Faria. And I want to thank Daniel Camargo for getting me this autograph. This was when he was still living in South America. And he did an interview with Celso for the fanzine and was able to get us several pictures from Celso's uh, what I want to say, Bible of pictures of his film career, and also this autograph of him when he was in Italy making Fadani movies. Okay, thanks very much, and thanks you, Daniel. Let's move on to Book of the Week. Okay, Book of the Week. It's from Spain. It's called La Maria Les, Sergio Leone. This is actually a film guide to the film locations of Sergio Leone in Almeria. It's by Joaquin Perez Miranda and Juan Gabriel Garcia. This came out in 2016 by Arte Institute de Estudios Almericenses. It's in Spanish and English. So one page is English, one page is Spanish, or one paragraph is in Spanish followed by the English translation. Has 159 pages, and like I said, it's a travel guide to all the locations. It doesn't have maps, but it has GPS coordinates. It tells about these locations and give pictures of each one. So I highly recommend this. Even if you don't go to Spain, it's worth getting off of Almeria, any bookstore in Almeria or Madrid, or you can try Amazon Spain. Okay. Next, we'll go to Tom's Poster Addict. Okay, guys, I haven't got much on Django. The problem is by the time it came out here and us collectors wanted to go back and get posters for Django, all the Italian ones were sky high priced. And same with Germany, since he was such a big hit over there. So we were limited on what we could actually buy on our budgets. So I do have a rarity. I do have a Django hat mat. Plenty of pictures here. And like I said before, you know what these are. These were sent to German newspapers for advertising the film. And the other one I do have is I do have a copy of Spanish Django. This probably didn't go over real well with collectors because it's just a generic picture. It does represent Franco Nero, but it's not an actual picture of him. It's a drawing. But you could probably still find these around someplace, but they're reprints, things like that. So just be careful what you're looking for, that you're not getting an original, even though the price is sky high. Okay, let's wrap things up with the weed news. Okay, since we do this bi-weekly sometimes or even longer, I'll go over the DVD Blu-ray releases, but you can find more information both on my blog, on Westerns All Italiana Facebook, or the Spaghetti Westerns database. The first one that came out is a new Spanish three-pack of Sergio Corbucci Westerns, so you Sergio Corbucci fans, this would be a great pickup. Contains Django, The Great Silence, and The Mercenary. This was released on June 17. It's a Blu-ray on Divisa slash Mercury label. They're in mono Spanish and Italian with Spanish subtitles. The entire DVD or Blu-ray runs 4 hours and 57 minutes. Then another Spanish release is a 4K Blu-ray of Por un Punado de Dólares. That's a fistful of dollars. This was released on June 17th. Same label, Divisa Mercury. The audio is in Dolby Digital 5.1, Spanish, Italian, and English with Spanish subtitles. It runs for 100 minutes. Extras include a new genre of hero, A Few Weeks in Spain, interview with Clint Eastwood, comparing the locations between 1964 and 2004, the lost prologue for A Fistful of Dollars, made for television, that'd be a nice pickup, Christopher Frayling Historical Archive, and three friends remembering Sergio Leone and trailers. I don't know who those three friends are. Doesn't mention. Another Spanish release is a 4K Blu-ray of La Muerte tiene un precio for a few dollars more. This was released on June 17th, same label. It's Region 4, Region B 4K Ultra ID Blu-ray. It's in Mono 2.0 DTS-HD MA, Spanish, Italian, English with a running time of 132 minutes. Extras include a new style, Thirsting for More, Clint Eastwood remembers, for a few dollars more. The scenes cut from the American version. The restoration of the film, comparing locations Almeria, Spain, 65 to 2004. Producers and critics remembering the film and trailers. And the last Spanish DVD release was on June 19th, and it's El Dia de la Ira, Day of Anger. It was released on the Impulso label. It's in Spanish with Spanish subtitles with a running time of 114 minutes. We have two obits to go over in Boot Hill. First one is Kevin Brophy. American actor Kevin Brophy died May 11th at his home in Rancho Santa Fe, California, at the age of 70. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 10 years ago. Brophy was born in Salt Lake City, Utah on November 1st, 1953, and starred as a young man raised by wolves on a short-lived ABC series called Lukin, and as the doomed leader of a college fraternity in the cult horror film Hell Night. When acting gigs became scarce, he worked as a valet parking cars at the Hotel Bel Air for 26 years. Brophy appeared as Gregorio Segovia in the 1992 Euro-Western TV series The New Zorro, starring Duncan Rieger. And then we have, sadly, Donald Sutherland, the Canadian actor who starred in scores of films from The Dirty Dozen, MASH, and Clute, to Animal House, Kelly's Heroes, and Ordinary People, to Pride and Prejudice, and the Hunger Games franchise, and won an Emmy for Citizen X. He died June 20th in Miami, Florida after a long illness. He was 88. Sutherland was born on July 17, 1935 in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, and amassed some 200 films and TV credits spanning more than 60 years. From guesting on episodes in the 1960 series, including Suspense, The Avengers, Court Martial, and The Odd Man, to last year's Paramount X drama Bass Reeves. His big break in movies came with Robert Aldrich's star-packed '67 World War II drama The Dirty Dozen, playing Vernon Pinkley. A hit in theaters, it remains a a seminal American war movie. Sutherland is survived by his wife Francine Rossite, sons Rogue, Rosef, Angus, Kiefer, and daughter Rochelle, and 4 grandchildren. Sutherland appeared in 2 Euro westerns, Cold Mountain in 2003 as Reverend Monroe, and as Reverend Samuel Clayton in 2014's Forsaken with his son Kiefer. Okay, that will wrap it up for this episode. So until we meet again, I will see you later. This has been a Roberto Jacuzzi production. Adios, amigos.